reports on the state of affairs there and how that country is trying to make it through its own economic turmoil. You would remember the protest that we saw earlier on in the week as citizens there protested against the IMF loan that the country has recently entered into. Well, from Buenos Aires, let's take you to Istanbul. That's where we'll find our anchor Shahan Ramkisoon, and he's been particularly paying attention to how the lira there this week has been responding to the trade wars, and also speaking to economists and political analysts on how exactly Turkey is going to get itself out of the current quagmire it seems to be facing. Let's take you live there. Shahan, good evening. You know, as I suppose it's still early days yet, but certainly there's been enough time to digest part of what the U.S. plans in terms of these trade wars is going to be, or the position they will take going forward. Is there consensus in Turkey around how the government there should respond in terms of protecting its own economy, especially as we know how vulnerable emerging economies have been?
Yeah, Kathy, I like that you use the word quagmire, because it sounds like a very polished way of saying that there is a financial mess in this country and other countries, emerging markets in particular. This government, of course, says it reacted to Donald Trump's import tariffs. It did not retaliate, even though in my eyes it really is the same thing. You know, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan did actually hit back with import tariffs of his own against the U.S. He imposed that on alcohol, cigarettes, and even iPhones. He advised people in this country not to purchase iPhones. But it seems that there is some sort of mending of this relationship. We saw the U.S. come out earlier in the week on the American pastor that's actually been held in Turkey. They were hopeful he'd be released. We saw that ease some pressure in terms of, you know, the lira. It gained some ground against the dollar. And it really is very interesting to see how what's said and done, the relationship behind the scenes, the talks behind the scenes, has such a major impact on the market reaction both here and in the U.S. And it's basically led to people having hope that the lira is going to recover. I want to talk about the positives today, because we've spent the entire week focusing on the negatives of these emerging markets. And we told you about the distress that Turkey is in. We now want to tell you about the good things that we've seen in this country. We've seen tourism boom in Turkey over the past couple of years. Just last year, they managed to get 32 million foreigners actually come to the country, earning that about 23 billion US dollars. This year, compared to last year and this particular period, has increased dramatically as well. So the country says it's going to make even more money going forward. It's also reached out to the private sector, and the private sector, of course, has a role in every economy. President Cyril Ramaphosa has, told the private sector in South Africa that they have a role in reviving our economy. Naturally, the same applies here, and that's why we're speaking to one person who's actually making a difference with his company, contributing to economic growth, employing people, and of course, bringing in more money to the economy, ultimately bringing up that GDP. Murat Bumez is the founder of Restaurant.com. Thanks so much for your time, sir. We appreciate it. We want to focus on the positives because it's our last day here in Turkey. Tell us about your organization, your business, and what you're seeing in terms of the people who come to Turkey. Are you seeing more and more people?
That's right. Look, Restaurant.com is an online platform for restaurants, especially for premium restaurants. It's the market leader. Restaurant discovery and online booking platform in Turkey with nearly 1,000 restaurants under contract. Over and over, we have been observing an increase in the tourists, coming to Istanbul. And the other cities of Turkey, as you rightfully said, the number of visitors are going to be increasing exponentially this year. There's a good chance that we'll be finishing the year around like 40 million visitors for 2018. On the restaurant side, in my opinion, people are not traveling one country just to see the sandy beaches or the beautiful view like this. They're also, coming to visit the country to experience the culture, which we have been doing over the past couple of days. And food, in our opinion, is a crucial part of the culture, especially for a country like Turkey. And so since last year, I can say that the foreign diners that we have has increased more than 200% compared to last year.
Let's talk about the locals, because I want to know if locals are still spending that money despite the lira crashing.
Yes, it has become even cheaper for the visitors, but for the locals, the economy is still progressing. New restaurants are opening, which is a really good sign. The restaurant shutdowns are almost none on the premium segment. But considering the increase in dollars and in euros, I think the implications that we see over the next couple of months is going to be some level of increase in the prices, but we don't expect any major hit in the volumes.
Well, since you have a business, let's talk about the important role that the private sector plays in actually helping a government build an economy and make it strong. What do you think about that?
Of course. Look, I think the government's key role in tourism is preserving the culture and preserving the history, right? Making it available to the visitors is something else that the private sector should handle and handling. Basically, the hotel capacity is increasing in Turkey. The number of restaurants serving are increasing. So all in all, the entrepreneurs, just like us, are also relying on the tourism as well as the local growth of the economy. So if you want to grow the tourism, I think the private sector and the public sector should go hand in hand. Yeah. But the private sector should be brave enough to invest in.
Yeah, you have to be brave enough. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks
we appreciate it. That was Murat Boumez, the founder of Restaurant.com, Kathy. Look, we want to end on a positive note, as I said, and I can tell you that I've learned so many things from so many people in this country. There are varied views on exactly what went wrong, what's going right, and how it can be fixed. But the one thing that we realized is the attraction of Turkey and Istanbul in particular. It really is where East meets West. It's where cultures combine, where continents collide. And people around the world are very attracted to this area just because of that, because they can experience both continents in one city. It's amazing. Let me step out a shot, give you a perfect view of exactly where I am. This is one of the most busiest bridges in Istanbul. It connects both sides. There's a river in between. The architecture here is rich. The history is rich. The people are amazing. And it's amazing just how resilient these people are when it comes to this economic difficulty. We certainly can learn a thing or two from their optimism back home in South Africa.
And Shahan, just admit it, you enjoyed their ice cream too. Admit it, we all saw you. All right. I'm not sure he actually got the last part, but of course, yesterday Shahan Ramkisoon doing that package for us, taking a walk around Turkey and bringing us some of the tourist attractions that are there. Well, let's take a quick look now at the day's markets.